Sirens and Frost. Battle took place on January the 4th, 2025. Their third battle of this season. Did the Sirens take a lead in the season series this year to kick off 2025? Did the Frost, who tied it up last meeting, get the lead this time in the season series? Find out now on this episode of PWHL Recap. Let's get rolling. Welcome to Sports for Beginners. This is the show where I cover the Pittsburgh Penguins, Toronto Blue Jays, and take you on a journey through the world of sports. From the fans' perspective, here is your host, Scott McGregor. Let's have some fun. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of PWHL Recap. My apologies, we've had so much stuff to do here. We still got two recaps, at least for 2024, to get to you, including our New Year's Eve special between the Ottawa Charge and the Toronto Scepters. Hope to get that to you as quickly as we can. Maybe we'll get a couple of these shows to you today on Monday, January 6, 2025. Again, disclaimer, we have a recap of Minnesota to get to you on our Sports for Beginners podcast feed. We have a couple of Dolphin post games to get to you on Sports for Beginners, as well as on the ice and behind the benches. We also have a New Year's Eve game to get to you on the Penguin side, as well as on the women's side of hockey. And yeah, you know what? A lot has been happening. So let's get down to this matchup on the 4th of January, 2025, between the Frost and the Sirens. Here we go. Starting off our show, as we always do, with our matchup at the benches. That is Greg Fargo versus Ken K. Lee. Ken K. Lee, the coach of the Minnesota defending Walter Cup champion Frost. The New York Sirens looking for their first shot at Walter Cup gold. They are now under head coachment of Greg Fargo. The venue in this game was XL Energy Center, which is the venue of Wednesday's game between the Frost and the Fleet. We'll get to that in a couple of moments later on in the program. But here we go, kicking us right back into Saturday, January 4th, 2025, the third meeting of the 2024-2025 season between these two clubs. New York and Minnesota both won a game. New York won the opener on December 1st, 2024 in overtime, 4-3. Minnesota answered right back a few days later, just before Christmas, with a 4-3 victory in the shootout at the Prudential Center on Sunday, December 22nd, 2024. Next time they meet, it's XL Energy Center, and New York goes ballistic. They beat Minnesota 5-0. We're going to break it all down for you in just a matter of a second. But before we go to our first commercial break of the program here, as when we go to the next segment here, we're going to break it all down for you, goal by goal, penalty by penalty, etc., etc. We'll break that all down for you in the next segment after we take the first break. Before we get there, time now to get to your goaltenders in net. Our matchup in goal for this game on Saturday was Lucy Morgan taking on Corrine Schroeder. On the New York side of the ice, Corrine Schroeder was backed up by Abigail Levy. And Maddie Rooney getting the backup job for Lucy Morgan, who is going to get the start in this one on Saturday's action. Of course, we're talking about this past Saturday on January 4th, 2025. And now that our coaches and our goaltending matchup is in the books, just want to quickly announce our timeline for the Bills post-game show that will come on Sunday. Most likely will be brought out on Monday. That is the Bills and the Broncos in Super Wild Card Weekend. We are in the postseason now in the NFL, and that's going to be a lot of great content there coming up on Super Wild Card Weekend. The Buffalo Bills will be playing in the Sunday slate as the early game. They will play host of the Denver Broncos at 1 p.m. on Sunday, January 12, 2025. The Philadelphia Eagles will host the Packers later at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. And then the Buccaneers take on the Commanders at 8 p.m. Eastern to close out Sunday, January 12th, 2025's schedule. 2 games on the slate on Saturday. The Ravens taking on the Steelers at 8 p.m. Eastern. And the Texans host the Chargers at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. With the Vikings taking on the Rams at 8 p.m. Eastern on Monday, January 13th, 2025 to close out Wild Card Weekend. All right. Went over the timelines for Wild Card Weekend in the NFL, but now let's get back on track here with the PWHL. And spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. We also will jump into PWHL Takeover Weekend. Fleet versus Victoire from Climate Pledge Arena. We'll give you the final score of that one a little bit later in our program. When PWHL Recap continues, we are talking Frost and Sirens. What happened in this one for the Sirens to win this one cleanly? Okay, maybe not cleanly, but you know what I mean. Plus our officials, and unless we take a break in between breaking down the game, we will get to the game stats in another segment, and we will of course get to our women's hockey player of the game and set up Frost versus Fleet. We want to set that one up. We will set up Frost versus Fleet. We will set up Frost versus Fleet on Wednesday night. That's not tonight or tomorrow. That is 2 days from today. But the Ottawa Charge are back in action tonight at the Prudential Center. We're focused on Minnesota and Boston when we're done with this one here. But with that being said, we're going to take a quick time out. When we come back on PWHL Recap, we break down how the Sirens were able to beat the Minnesota Frost 5-0. Stick with us. The game breakdown of Frost versus Sirens round 3 continues and is coming up next when we return. Stick with us.
CNT Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down. Nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on CNT Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on CNT Radio.
Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners.
Looking for conversations on books and more, as well as tutorials on using your favorite devices and applications? You've come to the right place. Join us weekly on Spicy Techie, where Ali and Sienna provide insightful conversations, as well as useful tips and tricks to help you along on your technological journey. To learn more, tune into the show and like the Spicy Techie Facebook page. Search for Spicy Techie.
Dear Hockey, dear Hockey, dear Hockey. Today I would like to share my love, my gratitude, and my appreciation. You have always been there for me and those who have come before me. Side by side, we have had so many emotional moments.
Now memories that are ingrained into my forever. You have helped me grow, learn,
Persevere. You have believed in me,
supported me,
and elevated me. My 24/7, my 365,
and now my future.
and now my future.
And now my future.
I'm excited about what comes next. I know they will be unbelievable, unimaginable, and the unexplainable. But I promise to be strong, powerful, and be an ambassador of all your good. You have only ever given, and now it is my turn to give back. I am here to amplify.
I'm here to unify
I am here to exemplify.
dreams for every little girl across the globe.
Hockey is for everyone. All my love, forever.
Always.
Welcome back. Welcome back to PWHL Recap. Time now to break down Saturday's contest between the Frost and the Sirens. And really, there's not much to break down here when it comes to the Frost, except for penalties. But the Sirens had quite a game when it came to scoring on our scoring summary. Let's talk scoring. Let's talk scoring and penalties as we go into our game breakdown of the game. And here we go. Sirens again won 5-0, but how did they do that? We're about to find out. Here we go. Frost and Sirens, round 3 of, I believe, 6 this year is what we're going to be seeing. Six games played against each other head to head out of a longer season compared to the 24 game inaugural season. The Frost, Sirens, Fleet, Charge, Vectoire, and Scepters played in. All right, here we go. In the first period, the Sirens score early. Jessie Eldridge, I should say, picking up her second goal of the season. Ella Shelton returns to the Sirens lineup after being out due to injury. And she picks up her second assist of the season. Frost do take one penalty in the game's first period, coming at 16 minutes and 5 seconds in. That went to Frost captain Kendall Coyne Schofield. 2 minutes for hooking is the call on her. After a period of play, it is 11-8 in favor of the Frost. The Frost have the lead here, 11-8 in the shot totals. So a bit of work to do for the Sirens, but they have what really counts is one goal. It's 1-0 after 20 minutes of play. Second period rolls around, and here we go. Sirens get two more. First up, we got to go with penalties, and let's start there. Let's start there, second period. Let's start there in the penalties. Well, here we go. In the penalty box, we saw Katie Knoll, Katie Cano, 2 minutes for tripping. She goes 2 minutes for tripping. Back-to-back power play goals for NY for the New York Sirens. The first came off of the stick of Sarah Fillier, her fourth goal of the season. Alex Carpenter on the assist, her fifth assist of the season. Jessie Eldridge, a goal already in this game. Now she's picking up an assist. One of two assists she had in the game. And this is her fifth assist of the season. Same for Alex Carpenter. Sirens up 2-0 on a power play that was a costly penalty for Minnesota. Speaking of costly penalties and speaking of back-to-back power play goals, later in the frame, Claire Thompson is caught 2 minutes for slashing. 18 minutes and 37 seconds into the game. Second period. 18 minutes and 37 seconds into the game's second period. The Minnesota Frost have taken their second penalty of the game. They haven't had an opportunity yet on the power play. But once again, Minnesota pays on the penalty kill. Abby Rock picks up her second goal of the season. Oh no, sorry. Alex Carpenter, picks up her fifth goal of the season. So she's got her fifth assist of the season and now her fifth goal of the season. Abby Rock, though, is in the area. She doesn't get the goal, however. She gets the assist, her second of the season. Micah Zandihart picking up her fifth assist of the season. Second of two PPGs for NY for the New York Sirens. That makes it 3-0. That makes it 3-0. Sirens over the Frost. Sirens leading commandingly 3-0. To the third period we go, but before we get there, our shots on goal for the 40-minute period. 11-10 in favor of the Sirens. Uh-oh, the Sirens have taken over. They led after 2 periods of play with the shots on goal at, well, actually, no, they were still being outshot, but they won that period 11-10. So they're still being outshot, but it's very close. It's 21-19 Frost. Frost have 21. Sirens have 19 after 2 periods of play. However, the Frost are down. Instead of by 1, they're down by 3 now. Third period, here we go. Shots on goal after the third period, by the way, just to get it out of the way. 5 for the Frost and 15 for the Sirens. The Sirens turn on the Jets and they turn up the heat. 34-26, the final in total shots on goal. I'll reiterate that in a little bit. But in the third period, it was a Sirens period, penalties, and goal scoring. First up, let's start with the Sirens penalties. Nora Toulis picks up a 2-minute minor for slashing. 5 minutes and 4 seconds in. She later takes a penalty for tripping. 10 minutes and 1 second into the third period. And then Jay Downey Landry is called 15 minutes and 26 seconds into the third period. The call on Jay Downey Landry is 2 minutes, and the call is interference. Despite these 3 power play opportunities for Minnesota, New York scores again. First, they score early. Chloe A. We're going to go with Chloe A. Her first goal of the season. Gabby Rosenthal, her first assist of the season. That now makes it 4-0, and I think by then that's the put away. I think the goal right there, that fourth goal right there by Chloe A, is the put away for this game. I think that goal right there put this one on ice. But we'll talk about that, and I might have just teased my play of the game, but we'll get to that in a second. A little bit later, in a second. Anywho, Abby Rock, we talked about her before. Abby R has an assist already in the game, and so does Jesse Alderidge, but Jesse also has a goal. Now Abby gets her chance to get a goal, her second of the season. Jesse Alderidge, sixth assist, of the season for Jesse Alderidge. Her second assist of the game. Peyton P. Levis, her first assist of the season. Picking up the final goal that would put this one out of reach and put it away. Jesse Alderidge, P. Levis, and Abby R. put this one away as they connect for the fifth and final goal of the game. And the Sirens win this one 5-0, shutting out the defending Walter Cup champion Minnesota Frost 5-0. Game stats, including the shots on goal that we just reiterated, or that we're just going to reiterate here, are right now going to happen here. When we come back after we take another timeout, we'll get to the 3 stars of the game. And then it's time for a look back at what we've had so far in 2025. And particularly, we're going back to Sunday, the game before this game, or sorry, the game after this game, to see how the first game of PWHL TakeOver this season went down between the Victoire and the Fleet. We'll see how that went down, plus get you ready for Fleet and Frost on January 8th, 2025. And we'll also set up, yes, we will also set up for you. Yes, we will also set up for you. We will also set up for you the upcoming action in 2024. So be sure to stick with us for that. It's going to be interesting to see how these games play out. So far, in the Frost's meeting with the Boston Fleet, they have won each time they've played, and we'll talk about that all coming up a little later. As we speak with you, we're about to talk 3 stars of the game when we take our next break. But before we get to that break, now that the game breakdown is out of the way, we'll go quickly into our game stats. Specifically here on this show, we only go by power play, penalty kill, and shots on goal. So to reiterate the shots on goal here, the Sirens turn up the heat, winning the third period 15-5 in the shot total, and also winning the game 5-0, but also outshooting Minnesota 34-26 in the shot totals on Saturday. Their penalty kill on point as they take care of business and go a perfect 3 for 3 on the penalty kill. The Minnesota Frost go 1 for 3 on the penalty kill, but they do allow 2 goals, I should say, on the power play. The big thing to note here is that because of that, the New York Sirens finished the game on the power play 2 for 3 in the game. The Minnesota Frost go 0 for 3 in the game on Saturday on the power play. So a perfect 3 for 3 for the New York Sirens. They go 2 for 3 on the power play. They pick up a dub of 5-0. A surprising shutout as they stun Minnesota 5-0. And I'll get down to my play of the game, 3 stars of the game, as well as our women's hockey player of the game. That's still coming up in just a few minutes. What went down at Climate Pledge Arena? We'll talk about that. All still to come on PWHL Recap. That game, I understand, went to a shootout. How did that happen? We'll show you the goal. We'll tell you the goal scorers in that one. coming up on another side. But coming up after this break, we will talk everything, and I mean everything. 3 stars of this game in our stars of the game. We also have our women's hockey player of the game. That follows a final timeout, and that will follow us getting you set up for the Fleet and the Frost, which we'll do so in a little bit. Next up, after we take this break, the stars of the game, the play of the game, what went down at Climate Pledge Arena, and more still to come on PWHL Recap. Stick with us.
I wonder if I could make it. It's almost getting to 8 o'clock p.m., and I am still a few more steps away from home to get to my computer to listen to CNT Radio's Cosmopolitan Culture Club. The best of the best music from around the world. Can't wait. I think I made it. CNT Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time.
Looking for a good hockey podcast that covers your favorite hockey teams and mine? Check out On the Ice and Behind the Benches, where we chat about our favorite hockey teams from puck drop to the last play of the action. To learn more, follow the On the Ice and Behind the Benches Facebook page. Search On the Ice and Behind the Benches.
Looking for conversations on books and more, as well as tutorials on using your favorite devices and applications? You've come to the right place. Join us weekly on Spicy Techie, where Ali and Sienna provide insightful conversations, as well as useful tips and tricks to help you along on your technological journey. To learn more, tune into the show and like the Spicy Techie Facebook page. Search for Spicy Techie.
Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners.
Dear hockey, dear hockey, dear hockey. Today I would like to share my love, my gratitude, and my appreciation. You have always been there for me and those who have come before me. Side by side, we have had so many emotional moments.
Now memories that are ingrained into my forever. You have helped me grow, learn,
Persevere. You have believed in me,
supported me,
and elevated me. My 24/7, my 365,
and now my future.
and now my future.
And now my future.
I'm excited about what comes next. I know they will be unbelievable, unimaginable, and the unexplainable. But I promise to be strong, powerful, and be an ambassador of all your good. You have only ever given, and now it is my turn to give back. I am here to amplify.
I'm here to unify
I am here to exemplify.
dreams for every little girl across the globe.
Hockey is for everyone. All my love. forever, always.
Go back to PWHL Recap. Sirens and Frost. The Sirens beat the Frost 5-0 on Saturday, January 4th, 2025. That was our game. Our next game is Frost versus Fleet. That's at 6:30 p.m. Central, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. I was about to say 5:30 p.m. Eastern, but no, that's actually wrong. It's actually 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central. And that is our next topic of conversation on PWHL Recap. We'll talk more about that in just a matter of moments. Also, I want to remind everyone that this coming segment here is our 3 stars and play of the game segment. Also, we will, before we take the next break, which will be our final break of the program, we'll let you know how things went down in Climate Pledge Arena, the home of the NHL's Seattle Kraken, and let you know who won that battle between the Boston Fleet and the Montreal Victoire. We'll let you know who won it, and we'll do that as well as set up New York versus Ottawa, and of course Boston versus Minnesota. We'll set it all up for you in a little bit. And of course our friend Thomas has us covered here with our women's hockey player of the night. We'll get to that in just a matter of moments in our next break that will bring us right back to our final portion of the show. Before we get to that, I also want to make sure we announce our officials in this one. So let's start there on this segment. Let's start there. And our officials for this game on Saturday were Lacey S., Beatrice Fortin, Sarah Buckner, and Laura G. So Sarah B., Beatrice 14, Beatrice F., I should say, Lacey S., and Laura G. Laura G., Sarah B., your lines persons, wearing the numbers 66 and 68. Numbers 26 and 39 went to Beatrice and Lacey. Beatrice 26, 39, Lacey. Those are your officials for the game. Now, before we get to the play of the game, let's go to what we call on Penguins post-game our 3 stars of the game, known on PWHL Recap, whether it's on the ice and behind the benches or on Sports for Beginners right here. It's known as the stars of the game. Let's get to those right now. On the Penguins Radio Network, that is brought to you by your neighborhood Ford stores. Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs are the official vehicles of the Pittsburgh Penguins. We're not sponsored by that, so we're just going to bring it to you. And here we go. Your 3rd star in this one is Alex Carpenter. 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points in the game. Your 2nd star, a goal, no assists, 1 point in the game. Sarah Fillier is your 2nd star. And your 1st star is Corrine Schroeder. 26 saves on 26 shots. She stopped everything Minnesota brought at her in this game, and it showed brilliantly. So Minnesota falls 5-0 to the New York Sirens, and it was a really great start for Corrine Schroeder. Really great start for her. Picking up a shutout. She picks up a shutout, and it was a very interesting shutout for the New York Sirens. They pick up a big win against the defending Walter Cup champion. Oh, by the way, just like they did last year, they post the first shutout of the season. Remember January 1st, 2024, when the Scepters, who were called PWHL Toronto at this time, lost 4-0 to the New York Sirens, called PWHL New York at that time? Well, New York did exactly what they did last year, this time to the defending Walter Cup champions. They posted the first shutout of the season at XL Energy Center on Saturday afternoon. And by the way, it was a very good start by Corrine Schroeder. Lucy Morgan, not exactly a good start for her, but she did make some great saves. I believe she did make some great saves in this game. She made some great saves in this game, and not bad for her first career PWHL start between the pipes. A couple of quotes here I'll get to before we get to the play of the game. Sirens head coach Greg Fargo said after the game, "We weren't aware of Nicole Hensley's injury until just before we were hitting the ice. We had done our goalie pre-scouts at that point, and we kind of knew we were going down one road, and of course, it ended up going a different way. That stuff happens, and I think whether it was equipment or a change of goalies, I think our team adjusted really well. That's a good sign of great leadership in the room to stay focused on what's important and focus on our game." Frost head coach Ken Cayley said this. So Frost head coach Ken said this in a quote here. "When it rains, it pours, I guess, but we just rolled with it. I had to call Maddie Rooney at home, and tell her to get here to serve as backup goaltender. It's just one of those things. It's pro hockey, and crazy stuff happens. Outside of giving up the first goal, I thought the first period we played really well. We had a lot of chances and have to find a way to get pucks in the back of the net. Kudos to them. They did a good job of not letting us get on the board or get going, and that's how it went." Frost, or I should say Sirens, first of all, forward Abby R. said, "I think we have adapted to make sure we are more predictable for each other, and we did a good job making sure we get our F3 high and power play our forward 3 high and play slow when it was the right time. I think we showed that when we get a lot of pucks on net, good things happen. The power play was great too. We tried to switch things up after being a little stagnant the last 2 games before. It's an important thing in this league to score power play goals if you want to win. So that felt good. And the last quote we'll get to here, just very, very quickly, as we are now about 37 minutes into the show here, is the quote from Claire Thompson. And she said, I think early on we had a lot of chances. Kudos to Schroeds, referring to Corrine Schroeder. She played amazing. I think we believe in the people we have in this organization and in this locker room. And I think, like Coach said, if we got one early on, it's a different game. I like the chances that we had, and I like the chances that we gave ourselves. The game also featured the largest margin for victory in PWHL history at 5 goals. It was the first time New York scored 5 goals since May 4th, 2024, in a 5-2 victory against Minnesota. It was also the first time the Frost have been held to fewer than 2 goals this season. Corrine Schroeder, just like I said, also recorded the first shutout of the inaugural season with a 29 save performance on January 1st, 2024 in a 4-0 victory over Toronto in the first game in PWHL history. A lot of other things happened in this one. But again, just to reiterate, the Sirens were the better team in this game, and it showed in that third period, but a win is a win and a loss is a loss. So when it comes down to it, who could win the war up front? And you win the war by putting the puck in the net, and that's exactly what they did. All right, play the game time, and then it's about time for us to wrap this up with what went down in Climate Pledge Arena, the Women's Hockey Player of the Game, and much more still to come. But before we get to the break, Play of the Game brought to you by on the Penguins Radio Network. We are not sponsored by it, nor are we sponsored by Ford, the official car, truck, and SUV of the Pittsburgh Penguins, for all those Penguins fans, especially those in New York and not in Pittsburgh, who are Penguin fans. We are bringing that one to you now, the Play of the Game, which is sponsored by, on the Penguins Radio Network, Rivers Casino, Pittsburgh's entertainment destination. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. We are not sponsored by Rivers Casino, so I'll give you my Play of the Game now. And honestly, I think I teased it when we were breaking the game down. I got to go to the third period. I think the goal by Chloe pretty much put this one on ice, and I think it really put this game away. Because then again, Abby's goal iced the game at 5-0, given the time of the goal at 19 minutes 28 seconds. I probably should have mentioned that during our game breakdown, but you know what? That's okay. Doesn't matter. Chloe A's first goal of the season. Good enough for my Play of the Game. And again, for Penguins fans, just a disclaimer, we're not sponsored by Ford, the official car, truck, and SUV of the Pittsburgh Penguins. We are also not sponsored by Rivers Casino, Pittsburgh's entertainment destination, but those could be coming down the road. All right, we have hit the final break of the program here. So when we come back, we will wrap it up with the Women's Hockey Player of the Game. Our introduction will bring us back into the program here. And of course, we'll get you set up for the Frost and the Fleet. That coming up. And before we get to it, even though the introduction will happen before we get there, before we get to the Women's Hockey Player of the Game, we'll take you back to this Sunday, January 5th, 2025. The Boston Fleet beating the Montreal Victoire in a shootout 3-2. We'll break it all down for you in just a matter of moments when PWHL Recap continues in 30 seconds. Stick with us.
Looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Map with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map.
Dear Hockey, dear Hockey, dear Hockey. Today I would like to share my love, my gratitude, and my appreciation. You have always been there for me and those who have come before me. Side by side, we have had so many emotional moments.
Now memories that are ingrained into my forever. You have helped me grow, learn,
Persevere. You have believed in me, supported me, and elevated me. My 24/7, my 365,
and now my future.
and now my future. And now my future. I'm excited about what comes next. I know they will be unbelievable, unimaginable, and the unexplainable. But I promise to be strong, powerful, and be an ambassador of all your good. You have only ever given, and now it is my turn to give back. I am here to amplify.
I'm here to unify
I am here to exemplify.
dreams for every little girl across the globe.
Hockey is for everyone,
All my love,
forever.
always.
It's time for tonight's Women's Hockey Player of the Game. Who had the best game tonight? Let's find out right now on the Sports for Beginners podcast. Thank you very much, Thomas, for bringing us back into the program here on Sports for Beginners, the podcast. PWHL Recap is wrapping up right here. That was our PWHL Women's Hockey Player of the Game introduction. Of course, it's always known as the Player of the Night, but regardless, it doesn't really matter to us. We're wrapping it up here. And as we wrap it up here, before we get down to the Women's Hockey Player of the Game recipients, I would like to let you know that if you want to get in on the action 3 stars wise or Women's Hockey Player of the Game or whatever, even if it's the play of the game, you can always send us an email at sportsforbeginners podcast8231@gmail.com. Or if you're on Discord, head on over into the general area on our Discord server on Sports for Beginners for the women's side of things to talk about your Women's Hockey Player of the Game, your 3 stars of the game for the Women's Hockey League, or you can let us know your play of the game there as well. When you're sending an email, please use either play of the game, Women's Hockey Player of the Game, or use 3 stars of the game in your email. And make sure to add, in case we want to keep that instead of the NHL, make sure to add the word PWHL or the letters PWHL, so that we know that's for the Professional Women's Hockey League. All right. With that being said, we got a game to get to here. We're not going to break it down all the way, but I'll just let you know who scored the goals in this one. But on Sunday, January the 5th, that was yesterday, January 5th, 2025, on my birthday, the Boston Fleet pick up a victory against the Montreal Victoire. They defeat the Montreal Victoire 3-2 in a shootout. But Boston was quite busy on the power play. They only scored twice in 6 opportunities on the power play. Montreal also quite busy on the power play, but only getting 3 opportunities. So Montreal spent quite a number of minutes in the penalty box. They spent quite a number of minutes in the penalty box, given how many penalties were taken by Montreal. And with that being said, that also brings me to the shootout, where the Boston Fleet had 3 goals scored by Hannah Brandit, Hannah B, and Susanna Tapieni. Only 1 goal scored by the Victoire. That was Marie-Philippe Poulin. Erin Ambrose, Laura Stacy, and Michaela Grant Mentes. No goals in the shootout. So the Boston Fleet head to Minnesota looking to get even with the Frost after winning 3-2 in a shootout in the first of many Professional Women's Hockey League games, where the PWHL has gone from home venues in the Professional Women's Hockey League to the venues in, of course, neutral site games. And that continues on Wednesday, I'm sure. Yes, that will continue Wednesday because in the schedule here, it's a double trouble here. So the Victoire are in their second game of the PWHL Takeover Tour, and that's in Vancouver, British Columbia, at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Central. The Scepters will host the Victoire in Vancouver on Wednesday night. Before that, the Frost take on the Fleet. And on that note, our women's hockey program is on its way to the end. In just a few minutes, we will preview Frost and Fleet, and I'll give you my thoughts on that season series so far. But before we get there, as we wrap it up here, time now for my Women's Hockey Player of the Game. Women's Hockey Player of the Game for me, we're going to start with the defending Walter Cup champion Minnesota Frost. And I'm going to do a pick-me-up one. And I'm going to go to Lucy Morgan. It was definitely not her night tonight, or definitely not her night today. I mean, as we're recording this, but this game took place on Saturday. So it was not her day. We're going to go with it was not her day on Saturday. But she did do well. She made 29 saves out of the 34 shots she faced. 5 of those 34 shots went into the back of the net. But any way you slice it, I still think Morgan did well. I still think Lucy Morgan did well. To the New York Sirens we go. But an honorable mention, though, for the Frost, going to captain, I should say, Kendall Coyne Schofield. 4 shots on goal for Kendall in this game. 2 penalty minutes, was a -2. But she played well in this game. I mean, yeah, the penalties are something she's going to have to clean up. And she also might want to clean up not scoring a goal in this one, because if they do get a goal in this game, it passed Corrine Schroeder. Maybe this is a whole different game instead of 5-0. But Lucy Morgan getting the pick-me-up Women's Hockey Player of the Game. The New York Sirens, I'm going to give it to Corrine Schroeder. Yet another impressive way to open up a new year. And even though the new season just got started in November of 2024, we still have a 2025 season to go as we roll on in this PWHL hockey season. So a really nice win there for Corrine Schroeder. I really like what I saw from her. Didn't allow a single goal to go by, stopping all 26 of the shots that she faced. And an honorable mention to Alex Carpenter. 6 shots on goal for Alex Carpenter. An assist and a goal, 2 points in the game for her. Oh, by the way, Alex Carpenter won 12 of her 19 face-off opportunities. All right, time to wrap it up here. So on the schedule here, before we get back to talking Frost and Fleet, because that's what we're going to set up to close out the program here. Up next on the schedule, tomorrow night, by the time you listen to this, the Sirens take on the Ottawa Charge from the Prudential Center at 7 p.m. Eastern. PWHL Takeover Tour continues at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Central. On Wednesday, when the Montreal Victoire take on the Toronto Scepters from the home of the NHL's Vancouver Canucks at Rogers Arena. Meanwhile, we will take a look at Minnesota versus Boston. Boston is looking for some revenge and a chance to beat Minnesota for the first time in their season series since the Walter Cup. They'll do battle at 6:30 p.m. Central, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, I should say. No, that's actually 4:30 p.m. Pacific, because Eastern time is 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. That ought to be a good one. Then the Fleet take on The Charge on Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern will come your way at 4 p.m. Eastern. Triple trouble, triple trouble, triple trouble. While it may be the postseason for the Buffalo Bills, we're going triple trouble, as the Minnesota Frost battle the Montreal Victoire at 1 p.m. Mountain Time on a doubleheader Sunday that features the Toronto Scepters facing off against the New York Sirens at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Actually, I should say at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Central Time, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. We got Minnesota taking on Montreal at Ball Arena, the home of the NHL's Colorado Avalanche in Colorado. That ought to be a good one. Both games on TSN and wherever you can find the game. We'll leave it there. And now, our next topic of conversation as the Frost look to bounce back from a 5-0 loss to the New York Sirens. They look to bounce back and win the third game out of 6, taking on the Boston Fleet. They've won the first 2 head-to-head matchups in this season series, and they have defeated Boston 2-1. That was on December the 4th. Earlier this year in the 2025 era, they have defeated Boston 4-3. That was on January 2nd, 2025. Head-to-head, Boston leads 3-2-0 and 0 in the head-to-head. Minnesota is 2-1 and 0. In the current season, Minnesota is 2-0-0 and 0. Boston is 0-1 and 0. And in the last 5 seasons, all time, Minnesota is leading 4-2-1 and 0 to Boston 3-3-1 and 0. Top scorers for the Frost, it's Claire Thompson, Kendall Coyne Schofield, Britta C.S., who, by the way, was not in this game against the Sirens. And we also know of a Boston player that was not eligible to play in their game down at Climate Pledge Arena on Sunday. Both those players should return to the lineup on Wednesday's game, but we will see. Kelly Panik, also one of Minnesota's top scorers. Boston's top scorers, Sydney Bard, Susanna Tapiani, Hannah Belke, Hillary Knight, and Megan Keller. In the last 10, Boston is 3-4-1 and 0. Minnesota 5-2-1 and 0. With that all being said, that'll just about put a bow on this one. My name is Scott McGregor. Thank you so much for joining us here today on the podcast. Would love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. Have a great rest of your day. Hockey is indeed for everyone. We will see you next time on PWHL Recap. See you then. I will see you Wednesday after Fleet versus Frost. Round 3. Let's see if Boston can get right against Minnesota in the 3rd round of the rematch. I'm calling this season series the Walter Cup Rematch Season Series. Already Minnesota is up 2-0. Can Boston cut into that season series lead? We'll find out on Wednesday, and I look forward to catching up with you again on that day after the game. My name is Scott McGregor. We will see you next time on PWHL Recap. Love one another. And as I said before, hockey is for everyone. See you then. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to Sports for Beginners. If you would like to learn more about the show, you can visit the podcast Facebook page or visit the official website. You can also send us an email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com. As we always remind you, it is not goodbye, it is until next time.